It's Aprille Franks-Hunt, and I am your host for this episode of Real Life Matters. And we have with us today the awesome and also fabulous global visibility expert, Nikki Woods.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello. And we're so excited, super excited that she is, that we actually get to do this in person.
I know, right?
So, you know, technology and all of that, you know, brought us here today. And we really want to talk about on Real Life Matters how a woman who is successful, which many of you are on the track for success and are successful, how you balance life, business, and just your hopes, dreams. How do you handle defeat, motherhood? How do you incorporate all of those things into what it is that you really want to do? How do you continue to stay motivated? And so Nikki is going to share with us her secret sauce for holding all that together.
Yeah, because it is a sauce. It is a blend of things.
Okay, so first of all, for those of the audience who is watching and does not know exactly who you are, I'm going to let you have the honor of just
introducing myself.
Yeah, just give it a little toot, you know. But seriously, you're a mother.
I am a mother of two boys, two wonderful boys.
Absolutely, which most of us can relate to.
Yes.
And you are a career woman.
Absolutely.
So Nikki is the executive producer of the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Some of you all may listen to it. One of the 8 million people, hopefully. Can you tell us where for you it really comes from, how you balance motherhood with the requirements of your career?
Absolutely. And it's funny when you say balance, because I don't even know if you ever really truly achieve balance.
Right.
But I think that for us, life is normal.
Yeah.
So, and just to give you an example, I mean, my sons play baseball, and I think one day they woke up and they're like, "Mommy, you're the only one with a computer at the baseball game," you know. But it's just what I do, and so they're just so used to mommy working, and they're so patient with mommy when she's working. I think it's just our life, and I think that, you know, it's just what we do and kind of how I show up in the world. I mean, I love what I do, with the Tom Joyner Morning Show. So it's not about work for me. It's just about doing what I love.
Okay.
And fortunately, we've been able to make it work. Okay. Not that there are not days when I'm just like, you know, because you got so many responsibilities, and not that I'm not really intentional about making sure that my children, you know, have some of me just for them, because I think you have to do that too. But I think that we just make it work. But I think for anybody trying to achieve that perfect balance, it's just not going to work.
It's not
going to work.
You have been advised.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, the important thing is that you're able to get through your life and you're happy about it. But yeah, balance.
Yeah. You can. You are off the hook.
Yeah, you don't have to take the stress off. You don't
if you're looking for this perfect thing, it just doesn't exist. Yeah. So I think that's really great, and I think a lot of women and men too, for that matter, can relate to trying to make this perfect thing fit the career versus the family and all these different things. And I think, you know, what Nikki is saying is just create a mold that works for you and your family, and incorporate your family in what you're doing in your hopes and dreams. So speaking of hopes and dreams, how did you get into the position where you are today? How did you know that you wanted to do what you're doing right now? Like, was there, you know, where did that passion come from? You know, how did you know that you wanted, or did you know?
I didn't know. I really didn't know for a long time. I always wanted to be a lawyer growing up.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to be, and I did an internship in high school, and I was like, there's just too many moral conflicts in this position. I didn't want to defend a guilty person. I didn't want to try an innocent person.
Absolutely.
So there was just too many moral conflicts. So when I went to college, you know, I fell into education, and I love talking to people. I love teaching people. I love communicating. So I thought that was really what I wanted to do, and I love kids.
Yeah.
What I don't love is being in a classroom with 30 kids for 8 hours a day and going home and grading papers.
Okay,
so
right.
It really wasn't my passion, even though I still really enjoy interacting with younger people.
Yeah.
It wasn't my passion to do it in that way. So then I just said, you know what? I like to talk. I like to communicate. I really enjoy sharing information with people. I love writing, so I decided to go into journalism. But I always thought I was going to be in print journalism.
Okay.
But you had to do an internship.
Those internships.
Yeah, those internships will get you every time. You had to do an internship, and you had to try all of the different disciplines. So I had to do television, I had to do radio, and I had to do print. And I changed to television, and I was going to be a television sports reporter.
Wow.
And I
didn't know that.
Yes. I've been in the locker rooms. And it just didn't feel right to me either. And so when I was pursuing television, a friend of mine called up and was like, why don't you come sit in for a week? My co-host is going on vacation. Come sit in for a week, and let's just hang out. And that's what radio is.
Okay.
It's just hanging out. And I loved it. I love the intimacy of radio. I love that you can feel like you're talking to one person, even though 8 million is listening. It's just like having a conversation, and I love that. So that's kind of how I landed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? You bring up something really interesting when you said that you were teaching, but it didn't feel right. And I think that's really important that you all that are watching, that you connect with the fact that sometimes you think you're supposed to be doing a certain thing and you know that it doesn't feel right, but you continue to do it. Or, a person will beat themselves up like, man, I went to school for this, I got to do this. Or even feel like a failure that I didn't continue on some specific track. So I think it's important to acknowledge the fact when something doesn't feel right, that maybe you should explore some other things.
Yeah, and you know what, and not to listen to other people, because it really wasn't me beating myself up, because I really didn't care.
But it's a record hold.
Right, but it's like my parents were like, but the 4 years, the money, the this and the that. And so I think that it's society saying that you have to go to school, you have to get your degree, you get a job, you work, you retire, and it's that sort of mentality.
You die.
And you die.
Yeah, that's the...
But are you going to die happy?
Yeah.
And that's the important part. And for me, happy is always first.
Absolutely.
I have to love what I do. I can't imagine waking up every day and struggling to get out of bed because you go to a job that you don't enjoy.
Absolutely.
And I get up early, so you know I love my job.
Yes, you do. Yes.
I get up at 2:30 in the morning, so
oh my gosh.
I love what I do.
Okay. I'm still sleeping 8 hours after that. Okay.
No.
Yes, I'm not the boarding bird, but that's awesome. I think that's awesome that you identify with that. One of the things I want to ask you about is, what do you do with, you said you were not beating yourself up, but did you have that time where people were maybe not supporting what you were doing, and you were like, okay, is this a path I should take, or what have you? Because sometimes a lot of people that may be watching experience people shooting their dreams down, or why are you going to do that? Did you ever experience any of that?
I'm not that kind. I'm just not that type.
I'm not like that either.
Yeah,
I'm the wrong person to come to.
But it's interesting. I think that people sometimes have it in different areas of their life. So I think for me, for a long time, personally, like in relationships, I was more open to the opinions and what people thought about who I was dating and that sort of thing. But professionally, never, ever.
Very good.
I wish somebody would tell me I couldn't do something.
Okay, there it is.
Because then I was going to do it twice.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like that's how I am when it comes to my, my career.
Yes, and that shows your passion too.
Yeah.
That this is what I want to do. And I think too, what it sounds like is that you're very tenacious and that, and not afraid, not having that fear, or maybe you were, so maybe I shouldn't assume. Did you have any fear every time, the times where you transition from one thing to the next thing?
I've never had that fear.
Okay.
I mean, I've never had a fear like, well, what happens if I get fired, or what happens?
Okay.
I've never had that fear.
Have you ever been fired?
Oh gosh, if you haven't been fired in radio, you're not doing a good job. No, I've been fired. I mean, radio has definitely gone through changes. I mean, we've gotten a lot of syndicated shows. I was in Chicago on air, and see, that's the other thing. I was on air most of my career.
Okay.
This is the first time that I've ever been a producer.
Okay.
So being open to that change was a big deal for me. But being on air doing mornings in Chicago, I mean, Steve Harvey came in and they were like, "Hey, we read it in the paper before they told us we read that we were fired before we were actually fired."
Oh, okay.
So we're on the phone like, "Hello, something you forgot to tell us." So yeah, it's all part of life and the economy, and I think that, and it sounds cliche, but I think it's really more important how you handle those disappointments, because it was disappointing.
Absolutely.
But I was never afraid that I wasn't going to be able to continue to do it. I've always thought, whether I lose it or somebody takes it, that it's just no longer my job, and that there's something bigger and better. And look now, I mean, I went from 1 million listeners to 8.
Wow.
So, it's always, but I think that's a mindset.
Yeah.
That, I think that's just the way I think, and I think that produces those results.
Wow, absolutely.
I
do. What would you share with someone who does have that fear? Because I can relate to you in reference to not being afraid and not being afraid to do the next thing or the unknown thing. Sometimes we get caught up in the unknown. Oh, I don't know how to do this or that, and we get afraid. So what would you share with a person that is? What do they need to hold on to?
Well, I think it's faith, but I think it's also looking back, because I think so many of us, especially African American women, have been through so many different things, whether it's on a professional or a personal level, and you're still here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're still here, and you made it through. And a lot of times, if you really think about it, you're better off now than you were then. I mean, and I'm going to talk about my sister, because she's completely different than I am. I mean, she went to school, she got her master's in accounting, you know, she's been in the same position, and she recently got laid off, and it's really a scary place for her to be. But she wasn't happy. I'm like, this is a blessing. What are you talking about? You know, and so as I've, you know, started talking to her, and we've started talking about the different things. I mean, you got a master's in accounting. You know, open up a shingle and start doing some taxes, you know. And so it's just a different mind shift. And I know with us growing up, I mean, my dad worked at the same job for like 50 years.
Wow.
He graduated from college, he got a job, and he retired from it. Wow. So that's his mindset. You know, you get a job, and if you lose your job, it's because of something you didn't do. But he didn't, you know, he wasn't an entrepreneur. We didn't have many of those in our family, so we were never exposed to that kind of spirit. Wow. So, it's just not thinking that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so just, you know, exposing her to different people to see that you really can be okay, right?
Yes,
right?
You
really can be
you will survive.
You will survive.
Yes.
You'll pay the bills, and maybe you'll be happy.
And maybe you'll be happy
doing it. That's my hope for her. But it is a scary place, and it's just trying to remember, you know, all the things you've been through, that you've already come through. Yeah. And usually, as I said, it's better off than where you were before.
Absolutely better off. That leads us into what you bringing up, entrepreneurship. Okay, great segue right into that. So you have some parallel things going on with your role with the Tom Joyner Morning Show and your global visibility platform that you're using. Can you share with us exactly what that is?
I shall. Well, I mean, and I've done it, and I talk about it. I mean, I've really made my career doing this for other people. I mean, I've always been a part of a team, and not usually the person that's in the forefront. I mean, I've always been somebody's co-host, and I've always been like, now I'm the producer. And I love being in that role, and I love helping people shine. And because I'm in radio, I mean, I've helped them get their message out in the way that they want to get it out, whether it's through an interview or through content. So I've always helped people get messages out to millions of people. Wow. And so when I did get fired in Chicago, I decided I was going to take a year off, because my oldest son was going to start kindergarten, and I had never been, you know, I'd always worked mornings, so I'd never been with him when he woke up or any of that stuff. So I decided I was going to just sit out a year, and I was going to take him to kindergarten, and we were going to make cookies in the afternoon and take naps. And 2 weeks later, I was like, I got to get a job. You know? So it's just not me, and that's another thing, just knowing, you know, who you're not. I'm not the stay-at-home mom. Okay. And so I started experimenting with social media and learning different ways that you could create a platform. I've already been in the traditional media, traditional platform, and just so different ways that you can, and then finally how you can merge traditional and social media together. And so I was like, well, why don't I show other people how to do it? Why don't I teach them how to do it?
Because she's the perfect person to do that.
And it's the perfect time. Yeah. I mean, if we're in an age where you can live, we have YouTube sensations. I was reading about some chick who, she's got like 2.6 million followers on Twitter, and she became a sensation on YouTube. I don't even know who she is. Right. She's not Elvis, she's not Oprah, I don't know who she is. But that's the kind of world we live in. So you can become a star without having been on the Oprah show. Absolutely. Or being interviewed on the Tom Joyner Morning Show, or being on, you know, Dr. Phil. You can do it on your own. And so I just want to show people how to do that.
How to leverage that. I think that's awesome, especially for those of you who have that entrepreneurial spirit, who want to expand your brand and your business, that visibility. And really social media has taken us from, you know, from not having it to traditional stuff and how we reach people to this whole global thing. Like, that's real. It sounds so huge, but once you look at it, it's really real. So can you share with us, how would a person, if they wanted to work with you, so for those of you out there who are looking to do something like that, what would they need to possess? What are maybe the top two or three things that they would need to have to make that happen?
Well, I think just the desire is one. I think that just being willing to put yourself out there is the biggest thing. And then I think that working with you probably is number 2, because I kind of like people to come with their message already together.
Okay.
I love passion, but I'm not really the person to help you find it.
Okay.
So I really like people to already know what they want to talk about, what is important to them, whether it be that they have a book out, or they want to talk about their company, or they want to just talk about their brand.
Yeah.
So I like for people to already kind of come with a message.
Yeah.
Because I believe in staying firmly in my lane.
Yes.
And I don't think it's good to try to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
There's so many talented people out there that can do things better than I can,
Absolutely,
obviously.
yes.
So those are probably the 2 things. And just being willing, especially if you don't have any experience with social media, just being open to the possibility of what it brings. I mean, there's still a lot of taboos, I think, with some people about the internet, and you know, and it's kind of scary because they don't really know it. So just being open to the possibilities.
Just being
I'll do the rest.
Okay, the willingness. That's a huge word, the willingness. Just being willing to be open to try new things, to experience a new way of doing things so that you can really get your message out to the world, if that's what you're looking to do. So from motherhood to, you know, relationships and
we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
We're not going
to talk about that. But we're going to say that for the expose.
Right.
To, you know, wanting to get that global visibility that you're looking for, and balance and all of that. Is there, what else is Nikki up to? I know you do some wild mamas.
Mama's gone wild.
Oh, okay.
That is so not wild. It's not even funny. You know, it really kind of, well, it's kind of a joke actually, because I realized one day that there really was not a voice. I mean, if you listen to the show, and I say this in the most loving manner, we got 2 grandfathers and a mother, and a woman who's never been a wife or a mother. And even though she speaks very well, she's never lived in that.
Absolutely.
So I just realized that there was kind of a void for single moms, for married moms, for women, you know, who are going through divorces, that sort of thing. And so Mary Boyce and I, who Mary is Tom's writer, one summer we, like, for whatever reason, I had no kids, she didn't have any kids, and her husband was somewhere else. And so Tom was like, come on, let's go. And so we went on this like 4-day, 6-city tour. And so Tom was like, Mama's going wild. And it stuck. And so that's kind of like how we branded ourselves. But really what we do is we provide that voice for mothers and wives and that sort of thing. And just talk about topics that are important to us.
That's awesome. So you can do whatever you want to do.
You can.
Nikki said
you can.
Right here on Real Life Matters.
Yep, you can. And it's more so effective if you ask Mary. I mean, you're looking at somebody who never even dreamed she was going to be on somebody's video camera.
That is awesome.
Much less in front of millions of people, you know, talking about what she loves, which is her family.
That's awesome.
And so, so it's great.
Well, we're not going to hold you any longer, Miss Nikki. We appreciate you for being here, seriously, because it's so awesome to be able to, you know, sit and talk to you. I've been stalking her for like the past several years.
Wait, we haven't even told that story.
Oh, yeah. So okay, sidebar. Okay, wait a minute. I've been stalking her for like 2 or 3 years on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere.
Unbeknownst to me.
Right. And then when Instagram opened up, I was stalking her there too. You know, strategically, lovingly, you know, professionally. And so I was at Speak and Write in San Diego at a Lisa Nichols event. And, you know, I'm following the Twitter feed. I'm like, okay, Speak Right. You know, I'm following it. And I see Nikki Woods quote something from something someone said off the stage. And I'm like, wait, are you here? I'm like looking around. You know, she don't know. But I'm like looking around. I'm like, are you here? And she was like, yes. And then we ended up in the VIP luncheon. And she's
still tweeting, where are you?
Right.
I'm like, I'm right behind you.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God. You know, like a little kid. You know, so this is awesome for me to get to do this. And
you're really wonderful. I've been, now that I know that who's been stalking me, I've been stalking your back. And you really do some wonderful things. I think that you are probably one of the more open entrepreneurs on the web, and I think that's a great way to show people that it's okay for it not to be perfect all the time.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we always strive for excellence.
Sure.
But if you don't always reach it because of, for whatever reason, just like this, life gets in the way. You're right. You caught it like, look, girl.
Yeah.
this is what had happened.
Yes, absolutely.
And that is so fun because by the time we get this posted, it's going to touch the right people.
Absolutely.
That it should have touched. And so I appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you. And what she's referring to is the botched up Skype interview that we did at my mama's house in the country with a 1-bar internet. So
like, where are you calling from?
Alabama. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. That's all, folks, for this episode of Real Life Matters. I'm your host, Aprille Franks-Hunt. You can find me everywhere at Women Recharge, and I'll see you all next time.